Welcome to Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow, a new minicast brought to you by SME. I'm your host, Tony Meary, Director of Community Engagement and Workforce Innovation. In this minicast, we're going to dive deep into workforce development, exploring challenges, opportunities, and solutions that are shaping the future of manufacturing. Each month, I'll bring you insightful interviews with key industry leaders, sharing success stories, highlighting significant events, and providing valuable resources to help you stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a seasoned manufacturing professional or just starting your journey, Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow is your go-to source for the latest news and trends in workforce development. So join me every month as we work together to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce. Let's get started.
And this morning's guest is one of my colleagues. I'm so excited to have Dr. Deb Volzer, who's recently been named the Vice President of Workforce Development from SME, joining me today. Deb, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to catch up with us.
Thank you so much, Tony. It's an honor to be here.
And today I wanted to really dive into the Manufacturing Imperative Workforce Pipeline Challenge. This is an initiative that you really kind of envisioned and helped kick off and lead for us. And I just think it's so important, the work that we've been doing, the research, the results that we've had. What was the impetus in actually creating this Workforce Pipeline Challenge?
That's a great question, Tony. And, SME being the, nearly 100-year-old national nonprofit focused on two things: advancing the adoption of technology, as well as building the workforce that they can then leverage that technology, really was the impetus. But on top of that, I really do feel like manufacturing is at a pivotal crossroad, and it has been for years, but it's just becoming more and more exacerbated as technology, innovation is really advancing at an unprecedented pace. And it really threatens our workforce and undermines America's global competitiveness. So if you think about it, just from the breakthrough in automation, the incorporation of artificial intelligence, the utilization of IIoT, and really it's revolutionary. It's revolutionizing how manufacturing is being deployed in our nation. And with that, it puts an impetus on us making sure that we have a qualified and skilled workforce. And that's where our community colleges fit right within that puzzle. And they are kind of that workforce development agency of their community.
So there's 25 colleges total that we have in the imperative?
There are 25 colleges, correct.
Perfect. And so going into these communities for launch, I think I'm so intrigued by how you pulled those together. Can you talk a little bit about these kickoff meetings that you had, these strategy sessions with 25 colleges, and who was at the table for those meetings?
Yeah, this is where I think the real power behind what we're doing comes into play. So as we identified these colleges, we really looked at a pretty robust rubric to understand what the needs were of their community, what was currently being provided. But we didn't really, from just the data we pulled, get down into how is the community responding to the needs of manufacturers. And that is what this program is intended to do. So at a kickoff meeting, we work with the college to identify key employer partners. So this is small to mediums to large OEMs that are in the area. We make sure that they're at the table. We look at community-based organizations, those that are helping historically resilient populations, make sure that they are at the table and have opportunity to gain the skills that they need for sustainable living wage jobs that are going unfilled in a community. We look at K-12. How do we build a longer term pipeline? Economic development. What are they trying to attract into that community, as well as other state officials or anyone else that we really think is going to help bolster up what it is that we're trying to discern and build in that area. And so when we bring all of these stakeholders together, it's great because we make sure that they intermingle during this kickoff engagement. And we do something similar to it's a design thinking light activity. We start broadly asking about what we think the barriers are for just the perception of manufacturing, how the community is understanding where those career pathways are and what we could do better just from a marketing and an awareness standpoint. And then we start breaking it down by are we delivering? What programs are currently being delivered? Are they aligned with the needs of industry? Are they moving at a pace of change that really impacts skill development that needs to occur to make sure that individuals are well prepared for the job when they exit? We look at duration, location, timing of those programs. Does it make sense, and does it help build out that pipeline for those employers in the area? And then we look at just capacity inside of the college itself. Do they have the right equipment, enough lab space? Do they have faculty, which is a huge area of concern that we have across our 25 colleges, across the 17 states, as well as, really kind of looking down into, are there populations within their community that we're leaving behind, and if so, why? So that's what happens in that initial meeting. So this is kind of, we call it jokingly or lovingly, I should say, our sticky storm session. Everybody, it's a timed activity. So it's introspective activity. So we have each person at the table. We ask them a series of about 8 questions, and they have a speed round. They have to write down both what is the opportunities in that around that question, or what are the challenges around that question. And then we have them get up and go put those on the corresponding sheet on the wall. We don't read them. No one else gets to read them from that. We move very, very quickly through this process because we really want this to be as authentic as we can. And we want them to give us off the top of their head what they think the barriers and the opportunities are. From that kickoff meeting, then we take all of those stickies and we go through and we look for trends, and pull that together and put that into a kickoff report. That report is given back to the college. The college, then we ask them to disseminate that to all of those that were at that meeting, because we want this to be a continuous community engaged initiative. So we're making sure that we are aligning all of and braiding together all the resources in that community to drive what we know we need, which is a skilled pipeline to fill open roles in their community. Everyone wins when we do that. And then from that, Tony, the last piece of that is we take what we did from that kickoff and we create a strategic plan for that college based on where we know how we're going to try to mitigate challenges that we have been that have been identified, and then we also look at opportunities to take those bold steps and those bold solutions to really drive impact in their community. One of the things I will say, kind of one last thing, we take all of those, and what we did was we actually looked at those across all of our colleges. So in aggregate, we took all of that information and then we put that into a national kind of report, an impact report, and then that helped us to align our roadmap for what do we see that is systemic issues facing community colleges across our country, what is systemic based on certain sectors of manufacturing, and then how can we work collaboratively across all of those colleges, bringing them together to then answer the questions and move the needle.
And how amazing to have not just regional views, but then that national view as well. And I think one of the things that's really important about SME is that we're looking at not just the talent pipeline, but we're looking at the tech and how is that adopted and how is that deployed. Can you talk a little bit about the pilot projects within these 25 colleges and what some of those looked like and maybe some of the results or tools that it's like, wow, this could really be helpful, or, oh, wow, we found something that we didn't even know could have been an issue and this is a way that we can work to solve it?
Yeah, we've deployed a couple of technologies, kind of testing them and piloting them, and I'll just give you a few examples. One of the things that we know is how do we, once somebody has identified that they have an interest in learning more about manufacturing, we are doing this through social media ads. We actually then engage them with an artificial intelligence that then can help us discern what's preventing them from taking the next steps to either enroll in a short-term program, find out about a short-term program, or a 2-year associates, or tracking into a 4-year engineering pathway. Understanding what the steps are that are required to do that. And so with that, we've used this this AI tool. And for example, in just 3 colleges, we'll just kind of look at one of our last activities with 3 colleges. These are usually typically between 8 weeks and 12 weeks engagement. We had over 226,000 individuals reached. And in one college in a very, very small rural part of Virginia, we actually had 793 individuals that were identified and who had said, yes, I'm interested in learning more about manufacturing, about what opportunities are available in just that short, 8-week, 12-week time frame. So we know there's interest when it's brought to the attention of our communities, and that resulted in several enrollments. So knowing that it takes a while to get a learner from learning about opportunities to discerning what is the best path for them, learning more about the program opportunities, but we feel like this accelerated engagement and really engagement at that person level to understand what those barriers are. We can then look at it based on, demographics, just their background, their education level. All of that information helps us learn more about the community, helps us then help the marketing teams, both SME's marketing team as well as the college's marketing team, better address the needs of engagement. And then we can adjust programs based on what we're learning from these individuals.
I think that's amazing. And that's just one of the solutions. And in a rural area, those are very large numbers.
They are. We're in fact, we're seeing that those rural areas, there seems to be as much interest as there is in some of our urban areas. Individuals really hungry to look at best pathways that lead to sustainable living wage jobs. Some of the other things that we're doing is, we have that marketing and engagement. We also have our community outreach. So how do we then braid together funding that's available in that community to really provide those wraparound services for those individuals that we've identified that, have a missing piece that just won't allow them to get to the college, to secure that additional education and training. So working with our community-based organizations really is helping us provide those services needed to mitigate some of those barriers. So those are just kind of some of the activities that we are doing. The other last one that I will briefly talk about is really our industry engagement. So it's easy for us to get those that are the college has always engaged with. Our medium to large size manufacturers typically have someone that can engage with the college. It's our small manufacturers that really don't have that luxury of taking somebody out of their plant and then bringing them to the college to discuss. So one of the things we're doing is trying to create better ways of assessing their needs, learning their needs, engaging them. And we're doing that through a kind of a bifold approach. One is we, SME ourselves, are trying to outreach to those small manufacturers and really learn what their needs are. But we're also working as part of this initiative with our MAC, which is the Manufacturing Association Advisory Council. So we condense that into, of course, you got to have an acronym, so we call it the MAC. But that is where we have those state manufacturing associations come together every other month, and we're speaking with them and they're sharing best practices. We're trying to learn what are the barriers for our small manufacturers so that we can make sure that we're providing the best information back to our colleges, as well as hopefully coming up with other alternatives for our small manufacturers.
Which is amazing because we're so results driven, and we're just getting to the root of some of the conversations that maybe entities feel like that we've talked about this before, but we're just coming in with fresh new approaches and how we can actually get effective in who we're targeting and how we're helping to really grow awareness and excitement about careers in manufacturing in areas where maybe they just don't even know what a career in manufacturing even is.
Absolutely.
And then one of the things that I really wanted to talk about wrapping up here is I know it's been amazing discovery over the past year plus as we've been running this initiative. What are some of the 3 biggest discoveries or takeaways that are changing the way that we really teach colleges to approach their market, right? We're teaching them how to talk with different groups of individuals that they may not have worked with before. We're teaching them how to work with employers that they may not have done before in different ways and strategies with some of those small to mid-sized manufacturers. What are some of the biggest takeaways from that?
What we've seen that has been systemic barriers across all of our colleges. So when we really kind of boil this down, it is, if you think about it from the perspective, our colleges typically market opportunities at the college. They don't market not necessarily particular programs. So we are providing some additional marketing bandwidth specific to programs. So we're seeing increases in those programs, while the college also sees increased enrollments overall. But we are really focused on a sector and driving to the needs of open positions in their community. So I think that has been really helpful. And just awareness in manufacturing, when you say mechatronics, or CNC machining, unless that individual knows what that is, they know what welding is. That's an easy one. All of our welding programs, I shouldn't say all, most of our welding programs have a wait list. That too, we have to figure out how to mitigate from a capacity standpoint, from a faculty point. But those programs that they just don't know what they are, we need to do a better job educating the populace on what those are and the amazing opportunities that they provide. The other thing that we've seen is that just finding faculty that really help when we increase this pipeline. How do we then find the right faculty to then assist these learners in developing out those skills? And we're working a lot with industry to say, how can we, could we have a faculty on loan? Can we look at those that are retirees? So we're looking at really trying to solve this CTE faculty issue that is not only at our community colleges, but broadly across education. How do we build that up? And then the last one, Tony, is really a big one for us. It's really making sure that industry is at the table, because their pace of change is outpacing our institutions' ability to make sure that they have the right skill development, new technologies, as you were just saying at the beginning. So how do we make sure that there is a good and open dialogue between the two? And how do we work within the confines of requirements in education to really drive the right kind of skill development at the right time and get individuals deployed into employment, but then how do we continually upskill them and right skill them as technology continues to change?
And I think that's huge, because we don't talk with any schools that are teaching anything within the technical skills realm that are not saying, I can't find the educators to come and teach this. And I think we're at a point in the US where this is kind of the tipping point. You don't have a teacher. How do you run a program? So I think everybody will be waiting with bated breath to see if we figure out the solution for that.
Well, I hope that we do. And I will tell you the most powerful part of this MI-WPC program is the collaboration and the sharing of best practices, how they've gone about solving either a policy or a funding issue amongst these colleges. I believe that's where the real insights and the amazing thing happens. And then bringing in those state manufacturing associations and getting that cross collaboration, cross pollinating them is really going to move the needle far more than any of us could do on our own. So together we are stronger.
Fantastic. Well, I cannot thank you enough for your time, for the work that your team is doing out there in these communities. And we look forward to more feedback from the Manufacturing Imperative Workforce Pipeline Challenge and seeing how we can roll this out with even more colleges helping to grow enrollment.
Thank you so much, Tony.
That's a wrap for this episode of Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform to stay updated on all the latest trends and happenings in workforce development. Don't forget to visit our website at sme.org for more resources and information. Until next time, let's continue to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce together.